Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the JB Show. Today, I'm here with Ida Li Preti, who's the trustee for the Toronto Catholic District School Board for Ward 3, which is the Humber River Black Creek area. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Thanks. Good. Thank you for coming on. It would be a good idea to start with your thoughts on the Raptors' win of the NBA championship.
That was an unbelievable win. I wasn't able to I didn't even get to watch the entire game because we were in a board meeting that evening. But we were getting updates as the night progressed, and it was truly unbelievable. What an unbelievable experience for the city, for the country, for our students and all of our schools. They're very big Raptor fans, and we're really excited. So we were there yesterday at the parade, and it was a phenomenal day with over I don't even know. It was just, there were so many people, and everybody was there just to cheer on the Raptors and make sure that Kawhi Leonard stays for another year.
At least one more year.
At least one more year.
Okay, that's good. So, what made you want to run for trustee for the Catholic District School Board?
Well, I had the opportunity to either run for the Catholic School Board or the Toronto Public School Board. What made me run for the Catholic School Board was I went through the system myself. In elementary school, I was with the French Catholic School Board, and then I moved on to the Toronto Catholic School Board. And my mother was a teacher with the Catholic School Board. My father had worked with the Catholic School Board. So it's something that we're very lucky to have in the province of Ontario, and I wanted to make sure that we foster it and we enrich it and we make it stronger, because it's always at risk. In this day and age, you never know. It's always something that's been, that's threatened. And I decided to go with Toronto Catholic because I want to make sure that our board, that the Catholic School Board, remains one of the strongest Catholic boards in the world.
Okay, and so you were elected in 2018, correct?
Yes.
So you're almost done your first year, or you're halfway through.
Halfway through.
So what are your short-term goals for going forward, looking ahead? So maybe for the first year or two, what do you want to achieve?
One of my biggest focuses is on parent engagement. So the success of a school is not only based on our incredible teachers, our incredible staff, faculty. One of the biggest components are the parents. And studies have shown that the more engaged a parent is with their child's school, the stronger the school. It helps in reducing absenteeism for children. It helps in increasing the learning capacity of the child. And it really makes parents involved in the education of the child to see what is being taught in our schools. So that's one focus that I've had since becoming elected. There's some schools that I have that have an amazing parent engagement chapter to it. And then there are schools that aren't as strong. So that's one thing that I've chosen 4 schools, and I'm really working on making sure that the community comes together, the parents come together, the guardians come together, and we can start the dialogue there.
What 4 schools are they? Can you say?
I'd rather not say,
Okay.
because I don't want to bring stigma to the school.
Yeah.
So I am in the Humber River Black Creek area, and it's not Forest Hill. It's not a Forest Hill type of community, or Etobicoke kind of community.
Right.
So there are struggles. There are struggles because in my community, parents are working 2-3 jobs, and to make that time to connect with the school is hard for them. There's also a language barrier a lot of the time. We have a lot of new immigrants that have come, that have settled in my community, and there's definitely a language barrier, and it's also very intimidating. So when I sit there and I talk to them and I say, get involved, come, and they don't know what exactly it entails. So if I say, we have what's called the CSPC, it's like a parent involvement group. and they ask me, what does it entail? And I say, oh, you meet once a month. Well, it's a little intimidating for them because they don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
So really trying to explain to them and trying to encourage them. That's what we're working on.
So what type of events do you run to increase parent engagement between the school and like the parents?
So I try to get involved in any aspect. So we have a lot of incentives for parents to come in, whether it's the Christmas shows or the Easter celebrations. We have welcome to kindergarten graduations, fun fairs, A to Z. Any opportunity I have to get the parents in the school is an opportunity I have to talk to the parents and really get them motivated and get them to engage with the school. So those are the opportunities. Besides that, I have started to have ward forums, and I've done it even with our coterminous board, the TDSB, where we try to get the parents out and just to discuss. Or the last one we had was a couple of months ago, about 2 months ago, and we wanted to talk about the budget because there have been recent budget cuts, and we invited everybody out, and we had a fantastic turnout, and we were able to start the conversation, start the dialogue. So any opportunity I have at my disposal, I will use to engage the parents and to encourage them to get involved with the schools.
Okay. So since you started in when December, right?
The election was October 22nd, but I was sworn in December 1st.
Have you seen like a lot more parents since that time coming to events?
So I had one school in particular that had my first meeting had one parent. And I'll never forget sitting there saying, and they were telling me, listen, we've tried everything. Parents will just not come in. They just, it's too much for them. There's socioeconomic difficulties in this community, and it's just never going to happen. And on the last CSPC meeting, which was at the end of May, we had 7 parents. So to me, when somebody says no, I will go the extra distance to make sure, because for me, there's a solution for every problem, and it's just getting to that solution that's the difficulty. So I remember sitting there after I got elected. It was during parent-teacher interviews, and my motivation was people saying it would never change in this one particular school. So I sat there with a clipboard, and I literally chased parents to and from their interviews with their teachers to get them to enroll or get them to engage. And I have to say that I was really happy because 7 it might not seem like a lot, but for me, it's just the beginning of something that is just going to grow.
Okay. So, I mean, that could be seen as a long-term goal as well, but do you have any other goals that, like, at the end of 4 years, you say, like, this is kind of something that I want to achieve? Like, other than, like, parent engagement?
Well, I want to make sure. So, one of my frustrations is more than 50% of property taxes are being paid to the schools. That being said, I want to make sure that we go through a line-by-line audit of our budget with the TCSDB to make sure that every single dollar is being spent for the benefit of the children, the child, the teacher, the staff. I just want to make sure that our financials are transparent and that we're accountable to the stakeholders. So to the families that might not even have children in the system. They might have, grandchildren in the system. And so, when I was talking to them during the campaign, they said, listen, we're paying a lot of money to the school board, and we don't know what is going on there. Like, we don't understand how it's more and more and more. And I want to make sure that everything that we do at the board is communicated effectively to the stakeholders.
Okay. So you said you have a lot of meetings or town hall style meetings with your parents. Are there any like major concerns that they bring up, or any type of concerns that are brought up multiple times in different schools?
Yes, the one issue that is brought up at every school that I go to is mental health.
Right.
And we keep seeing it over and over again, mental health in our students.
So like what do you think you could do as the trustee to improve, like, cuz the mental health within the school, right? Like what they offer to help with the students. What could be done within the school? Like what could be added that's not there right now?
Well, the province has seen that mental health is a concern, especially in our schools. So they have taken an approach where we've just hired 6 more psychologists to the secondary level, and I'm only speaking within the TCDSB. I'm not privy to the TDSB or any other boards within the city. Another issue that we talk about and it keeps coming up is social media.
Yeah.
I didn't have that growing up, so you see the dynamics have changed where with Facebook, with Snapchat, with Instagram, it's always we're always looking for. I don't know how to explain it without. We're dependent on these mediums, and what we're trying to do is encourage students to, we don't need gratification from how many likes we get on a
Right.
certain post. There's also a lot of social bullying that's going on that we need to have addressed. So in order to address these concerns, we're trying to, the prevention key is aspects. So we're trying to bring in speakers to speak to these issues, but that's not a solution. Because what happens is a speaker comes in once and, 2 weeks later we're back on. So some of my schools have partnered with Toronto Public Health, and we have a really good program called Into Kids Health in many of my elementary schools, and we're trying to work with them at promoting physical activity, getting
Yeah.
enough sleep, eating properly, putting away your phone, having, a 1 hour, 2 hour screen time per day. And we're going to just keep working on that aspect of it.
So I don't know if you know this, but like what ways do they try to promote that? Like in what way? Like I phrased the question wrong, but how do they do it? Like through what platforms? Like through like flyers, or they bring people in?
No, we have people that come in.
Okay.
And they also have events for parents to come in. So
Yeah.
not only are they working specifically with students, but then we have evenings where the parents are invited to come in, and they bring Toronto Public Health nurses to speak to certain issues. So there's the mental health component. There's the eating component, making sure nutrition, because it's fine to go out and and just grab, a quick bite. And I'm guilty of this too. I mean, we're all on such crazy schedules now, running and getting the fast food, but really encouraging healthy food, nutritious food.
Okay. So yeah, that was something I know you're really big on, is the nutrition program. So if you want to like kind of explain what that is and like what's happening with it.
So Toronto Public Health works with the school boards in Toronto. Not only ours, but the other, there's 4, not including the private schools, with the nutrition program. And a few months ago, that was at risk of being cut due to provincial cuts, also with the Toronto Public Health System. So what we tried to do was save that program, and by saving the program, we're able to feed our kids. So in most of our schools, I'm not saying it's in all of our schools, but in our schools, we have a nutrition program where we offer a very nutritious snack to students. So the nutritious snack would be yogurt or a vegetable or an apple, because not all of our students are bringing lunches to school with them.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that no child is ever left behind, no child is ever hungry. And we have it's called the Angel Group Foundation within our board, and they provide the program to our children, and they're getting the funding. They're doing their fundraising, but we also rely on Toronto Public Health to fund this program, which right now for this next year, it has been saved.
So how did you guys? So it was at risk. How did you guys go about getting it not to be at risk, like to continue this program?
We fought.
Yeah.
We fought really hard. So our board, we wrote letters. We got on the phone. We had emails. It was an entire campaign to explain to the provincial government how important the nutrition program is for our students.
Okay. And did you see like the not necessarily the nutrition program, but nutrition as a whole as a major concern from like any parents, like at any of these meetings, or it wasn't really they weren't really aware of it?
You mean the nutrition program
No,
as a
there's
whole?
nutrition as a whole. Like if you saw that
Um,
as a problem.
it has no. It none of my meetings had focused on nutrition, but we do offer the education of how important nutrition is. So when we do these evenings or when we send letters home, I think that Toronto Public Health does a very good job at explaining to parents how important nutritious non-trans fat foods are for the viability of our children. And I think that we just need to keep encouraging it, which we do.
Okay. Not recently. A couple months ago, it was announced that there would be some budget reallocation with the school boards. So there was a couple things that I wanted to just ask, maybe if there was you had any concerns with it, or if any parents had any concerns with it, and what their concerns were. So I was reading that high school students now have to take a minimum of 4 online courses, and up to now, online courses were optional. So as like a former high school student, I didn't have to take online courses, and I found it really helpful when I had that teacher student connection, especially during the lecture. So what do you think about like now they have to take these online courses?
Yeah, it's something that we're working on right now with our board to see how it's even possible to implement.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking in my ward in general. Not everybody has a computer.
Right.
Not everybody has internet access at home. We definitely do not have the capability of doing in our schools right now. So how to implement it, it's going to be very difficult because one of the ideas was, we'll get them to do it in school, but we don't have the facility yet
Yeah.
to accommodate this. One thing I do have to say is TCDSB does have an online program right now. It's not mandatory, but we have started a few years ago because it is important. I do see where the province may have seen the importance of online education because computers are important, making sure that our children are technologically capable, for post-secondary, for after graduation.
Yeah.
However, we're just not there yet. So right now we are currently working on seeing how is it possible to implement this.
So so this is kind of going back a little bit, but when these cuts were like introduced, or when they were brought forth, were there any was it brought up by parents at any of these meetings, or have you had a meeting since they were brought up? Like, was it a big concern for them?
The cuts in
yeah.
general,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course. The
Okay.
cuts in general have been. It's within our board right now. We had a couple of programs. So there's the international language program, which I campaigned to keep within our school, which is not being funded anymore by the province. There's Fifth Block, which is a program for primary children to help encourage reading and that was another one that was on the chopping block. ESL, which is in Humber River Black Creek, English as a second language. I don't even see how it's possible to even continue without ESL teachers because not only would we like the teachers need the support, the children
Yeah.
need the support. We can't communicate with the child, and so teaching them the fundamental basics is a must. So yeah, these cuts, they're devastating. But I, I do believe that we will overcome these challenges. We were very strong in our decision not to cut any programs at TCDSB, and we were strong in our decision not to. We didn't want to lose any of our teachers.
Okay, so next would be like the class sizes. So I have some stats here. So right now, the average class size for grades 4 through 8 right now are 23.84 students per class, and with what's going on, they'll go up to 24.5. And the average class size for grade 9 through 12 right now is 22, but that will jump up to 28. So those are, I mean, it seems small, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually a pretty big number, especially for high school where it's like the most important. Like I think it's very important, like that the teacher and the student have that connection. At least that's what I found really important going through high school, where being able to like go to the teacher and the teacher actually knows who you are, and you kind of have something like between you where you go up to them and ask them any question and you could feel like they care. So what has the TCDSB done? Like what are they trying to do?
Okay, so for let's start with the grades 4 to 8
Yeah.
class size, changing to 24.5 students to one teacher.
Yeah.
So the TCDSB is one of the few school boards with a class size greater than 24.5 to one teacher. So the move from the 2018-19 current 24.97 ratio to the 2019-2020 ratio 24.5 students to one teacher actually requires us to hire more teachers. So
Okay.
right now, our class sizes are bigger than what is mandated by the government. So with the TCDSB, under the former government, the GSNs provided additional funding for school boards with a class size greater than 24.5 to one teacher class size, which was staggered over a 4-year transitional period. This means that the cost of funding impact right now to the TCDSB is an additional 32 full-time elementary teacher positions at a cost of $3.3 million and a funding reduction of $4.5 million for a total financial impact of $7.8 million.
So with these cuts, you have to hire more teachers. With the
Exactly.
changes. Okay.
So right now, it's very confusing. So we had a 4-year plan in place where we were going to bring our class sizes down. Right now, as of September, we need to have the class size ratio of 24.5 students. So in order to achieve that, we need to hire more teachers. So
Okay. You're
we
spending more
will
money.
be spending more money, which we won't be getting back from the government. So
Right.
that's what we had a bigger deficit due to that fact
Okay.
that we're trying to make up.
Okay. How about the 9 through 12? Is it the same situation or is it a little bit different?
So the move from the 2018-19 current 22.1 ratio to the 19-20 ratio of 28 students requires a reduction of teacher positions, which is anticipated to be achieved by normal teacher retirement over the course of 4 years. So in my area, in Ward 3, Humber River, Black Creek, we won't be laying off any teacher. It'll be through attrition.
Okay.
So
what does
I
what
do not.
means?
Attrition basically means as they're retiring,
Yeah.
we won't be hiring new teachers to fill the position.
Okay.
We'll just be going into the getting to that level
Yeah.
through retirement. I do agree with you that bigger class sizes will not be in the best interest of our students, especially in secondary. I'll tell you from personal experience in secondary school, it was a long time for me, but secondary school, the impact, that I had being in a class size that was larger, I didn't get the support that I needed. And I am so grateful to my teachers and especially my vice principal at Lord Oabi at the time who saw the difficulties that I was having and that pulled me aside and and spoke to me on a different level and took the time to really make me achieve the goals and to teach me how to be humble, how to be that taught me that I was a valuable member of the school community. And so my fear is with the class sizes being increased, you won't have that connection anymore. And that connection for me was really important, and it really paved the way for me, for high school, for university, and then it guided me through the rest of my life. And after I got elected, I actually touched base with a lot of my teachers and my former vice principal just to say thank you for taking that time, for seeing it, for seeing the difficulties that I was having,
Yeah.
and for taking the time for, really helping me grow.
Okay. Um, Another thing, the kind of last thing that I want to talk about from the reallocation of funds is they want to. So Ford government wants to introduce a new 4-year math plan that will hope to increase online resources, and now it will require new teachers to pass a math knowledge test to become OCT certified. And it doesn't matter what their subject, like what they want to teach, they have to take it no matter what. So what are your thoughts on that specifically?
Um, I think it's important for whatever profession that you decide to go in to always have professional development, which we offer within the school. Um, this is an issue that's really where the provincial government was going with was our EQAO scores and how low or what they say to be lower than the standard or what is acceptable. There's a lot of flaws with the EQAO system right now. And I think that before mandating teachers to take this test, I think that they should fix their system, this EQAO system, which, okay, for instance, if you have a child that's on vacation or has, is sick and is absent and that cannot write the test. So right now in one of my schools, we had 6 students that were away. They receive a mark of 0. So that really impacts the scores of a test
Yeah.
of EQAO, which, because they don't take into account. So you're automatically just given a negative
Yeah.
on that. So what I would rather them invest the money in is, abolishing the EQAO, because it just doesn't, or revising it so that it makes sense. Because right now the numbers that are given are not a true reflection of what is happening in our schools. But I do see the importance of making sure that our teachers and our staff get, professional development so that
Right.
whether, and that's in any aspect. I think whether you're, a doctor, a nurse, I even think politicians should get, just a refresher. But we do that within the school board with our professional days.
But like, why math specifically? Like, I feel like why is it math that they're focusing on so much?
The scores were they seem to think that our scores are very low compared to other countries
Okay.
around the
In
world.
the math section specifically.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so they wanted to do a back to basics with math, and they keep talking about back to basics.
Yeah.
It's something that resonated with, I guess, their stakeholders, and it's something that was brought up through, they say, consultation. So I'm not sure which consultations they were, but it is through consultation that they said they heard that this was a problem that they wanted to see addressed.
Okay. So this isn't necessarily. It's not. It doesn't really. It doesn't matter to you because it's York Region. But they announced that they're going to be canceling or scaling back almost 160 courses in high school alone in the next academic year. So is that happening within the TDSB or TCDSB next year, or within the next couple of years?
So the elimination of funding for secondary programming, teachers will decrease grants for student needs. The funding for TCDSB by approximately 2.5 million. And they're saying that there may be a reduction of 22.9 full-time equivalent secondary teacher positions achieved by normal teacher retirements. In that, losing the programming, we're really trying to make sure that we're not impacting our students with program loss. So in my ward, we haven't lost any programs and we have not lost any teachers at the secondary level.
And that's for the foreseeable future.
No, nothing is for the
Nothing
foreseeable.
for the future, or just for next year.
Just for next year.
Okay, so I have one more question.
One thing I wanted to mention though,
Yeah.
we will be putting together next year a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee within the TCDSB to go through the budget on a line by line basis, making sure that we find any inefficiencies or efficiencies within the board so that we can keep the funding in the classroom for these programs that are vital to our children.
Okay. So I just have one last question before we go, and this could be like your opinion or if you've heard any concerns from the parents. But I'm wondering, is it difficult to continue offering like a Catholic education in a much changing, not only Canadian but even in Toronto, with in a society with so many different like people from different countries and like different religions? Is it difficult to continue offering that education or keeping it there to be offered at least?
Well, it's in the Constitution, so we are protected through the Constitution, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that we continue Catholic education. In Ontario, it is always something that comes up, and my personal network is from all we're very diverse. So my answer is always, and it will always be, why not? Yeah. Why not have a second one? It's good competition. What's wrong with competition? We have one of the best systems. We have one of the biggest boards for Catholic education, and it works, and it's effective. And we are giving parents a choice.
Right.
So choice in our country is good.
Yeah.
And we will fight to make sure that Catholic education not only remains, but continues to grow.
Okay. Did you see any like pushback from other people?
100%.
Yeah. No, I seen.
Of course. Of course. But then you also see people that you also see it how much they value the Catholic education system and the importance of the Catholic education system. And we're not about to let that go. And we're very proud of what we do.
Good. Awesome. Thank you for coming on to talk about.
No problem. And for any parents that are listening, please make sure that you consider Catholic education for your own children. We are here to fully support you, and we are here to listen to you, and we encourage you to choose Catholic education. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for coming on. Okay, see you guys next time.